All right. So I'm doing a video today on what I've realized about influence. And man, there's so much to influence, right? I was watching a video a little bit earlier today, actually, by Megan, which she did a great job, by the way. She was talking about how we're influenced by our own emotions and feelings. And that's such a great point because typically when we think of influence, we think of the influence one has over another, right? But uh, there's influence from our own thoughts and feelings and emotions. Hey, Megan, I'm just shouting you out. and and those influences don't necessarily come from us. When we say, our thoughts or emotions or feelings have influenced us, I felt like doing this in a moment. That's not necessarily coming from us. It's generally coming from some kind of memory that we've had of our past. And so, what we're actually being influenced by is our environment, our past, the things that were going on around us then, the people that were around us then, mostly our parents, right? Or whoever was raising us. They're going to have a tremendous influence on us. And that's going to shape the way that we carry on about our day and the things that we do and the things that we find normal and that we accept as okay, yeah, that's life, right? And what's interesting about that specific influence is that if you want to, well, when you become an adult and you realize you want to have a different life, you will attempt to do things, but you'll always do it in the fashion of, or from the starting point of, how you think things were done or how you believed things to be done from your childhood. And so that carries a tremendous influence on your decision making because you don't want to go against that. And you don't necessarily remember those things that had that tremendous influence on you, right? The other thing that I realized about influence is that we're constantly being influenced all the time, all the time, not just by our own, memories and past and parents and emotions and things like that, but also by the media, also by other people who are attempting to influence us for their own emotions and feelings. Other people who are attempting to influence us to gain some kind of money, right? Or gain some kind of power, right? That's happening constantly. And what we don't seem to realize as a society as a whole is that a lot of the thoughts that we think are ours aren't our thoughts. They've been influenced and given to us by this constant flow of influence coming towards us, right? From all different angles of people just trying to get ahead on their own, right? And think of this: we've all been told that it is survival of the fittest, right? And it's a dog eat dog world. And so, whoever has the best survival traits, they're going to do well or survive or carry on and pass on their genes, right? Um, but aren't we living in a time where, for the most part, you don't have to do that anymore? You know, like if you're living in the first world, if you're living in the US or the UK or Australia, if you can understand me, pretty much, right? Then you probably don't have to fight for survival. Yet we all still compete in that very same way, from that very same starting point. We're all competing with each other, and we're all still believing and acting as if it is that dog eat dog world. And on a certain level, it is. But we do have the technology and the resources to be able to change that if we were all on the same page about it. but we're all still on the same page of it's survival of the fittest. But isn't that interesting, juxtaposed with today? You know, we're fed this story of survival of the fittest, and yet at the same time, we can take the measures to protect the vulnerable, right? We're doing that. And so why not go the full step and protect everyone? Protect everyone from poverty, protect everyone from insecurity, food insecurity, protect everyone from hunger, protect everyone from, not having shelter, protect everyone from the things that none of us want. Meaning, none of us actually want to fight just to put food on the table. None of us actually want to fight or compete just to have a home to go to or just to take care of our loved ones, right? So why don't we make that a human right? And that's not to say that, you know, that I want communism. I don't. Or socialism. I don't. Right. Um, However, we have the resources where we can provide for everyone a lifestyle where they don't have to compete to survive. Now, competition can still be in the mix as far as competing to make the best things. Wouldn't that be great? Competing to make the best homes, the best clothes that are durable, they last long, and they're easy to clean. I'd love that, right? Competing to make the best technology, that's still awesome. All of that is still awesome. But from the starting point of not doing it to outcompete everyone else, because then I can get all the money and then I can, have all the power, but rather doing it because it would be best for society. And who doesn't want the best things? And you could say, look at what I've innovated. But imagine the person who's doing that, the person who has the opportunity to do that, right? Like Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs, you know the names, right? Those people had a distinct advantage. They weren't competing to survive. They're not like the people who are in poverty, who are competing to survive. It really is for them survival of the fittest, right? But all of that has just been a story that we've been told as a society at large over and over and over again, that this is the way that it has to be. And if you don't like the capitalism that we have now, then you must be a communist or a socialist. It can only fit into these certain boxes. How can we all know those terms, but we can't figure out or even imagine something that blends those things, that is the best of all those things, that actually puts together what works from this and what works from that, and actually makes it work for our society and work for all of us? Because we've been influenced in a way where we can't really think that clearly. We can't think that critically, right? We've been influenced. And what is one influence that virtually everyone has? Well, there's a few, right? But one that is ubiquitous is, well, obviously influence from our parents, right? But also influence from schools. Influence from schools. And it's interesting because the schools will influence us in a way that we feel that we know more, that we understand more, that we are smarter, that we are more intelligent. Yet there is a certain agenda with a school, right? And it's really not a secret. School is meant for you to be able to get a job, right? But it's not meant for you to really shape society to be what's best, not meant to create you, the individual, to be your very best. Otherwise, wouldn't we see more of that? I mean, just ask yourself, when you put a child in school, do you actually expect, if you put 10 kids in school, how many of them do you expect to reach their full potential just from school alone? If you're honest, not many. Actually, if you're honest, none, right? But that's because there's other factors involved, right? Other factors being, of course, your home life. That's part of your education. That's really important. And yet, somehow, it seems like society's gotten further and further away from actually caring about what goes on in the home, actually making that a staple, actually making that most important. Because isn't that why we do everything? We want to create something for our families. We want our families to have a good life. We want ourselves, the people that we love, to live well as well, right? But why do we go about it this roundabout way where we're trying to, I don't know, get jobs and money and compete and all of this when we could start from the starting point of, hey, you know what? Family's important. Your family should be important too. Everyone's family should be important. Let's figure out a way where everybody's family can be taken care of and we can still all live happily. We can still all have nice things. We can still actually enjoy life. And other people can enjoy life too. But the reason why that seems so far of a stretch is because of the way that we've been influenced. If you haven't checked out Century of the Self, go find it on YouTube. It's free, right? But it's a documentary that really details just the insane amount of ways that we've been influenced, right? And you'll find out about a guy called Edward Bernays. And you might even go down a rabbit hole of seeing so many other places that we as a people have been influenced for the benefit of profit, for the benefit of corporations, right? But it's time now that we as a people start using our own influence. If you can hear this and say, yeah, you know what, that does make sense. It would be better to live a life like that, where we're all taking care of each other, where, you know, our lives are valued more than money. Then that means it's time to start using your influence to talk to more people about that. Because trust me, they're getting influenced all the time by what the system wants. But we can change that if we use our influence collectively to do so. I'm going to leave it at that because my battery's about to die.